Next, let's consider options on currency. And one can think of a currency, for example, if the underlying currency was a euro. And we might imagine that we're trying to price a call option to buy 1 euro for the price of $1.25. So that would be a natural option. So the underlying asset is the euro. So in the same way that we think of a pricing an option on a stock, the replicating portfolio is made up of stock and T-bills. If we're pricing an option on euro, our replicating portfolio should in fact be a portfolio of euro, a certain number of euro, and a certain number of dollar-denominated T-bills. And so our replicating portfolio mechanics will be the same. So first of all, we need to think through what the binomial lattice up and down returns are, and following the logic of the earlier module, we start with, in a riskless world, the future value of currency, the future cost of a euro, x0 is today's price of euro, today's price of the foreign currency. The future price would, in the absence of risk, have to be the forward price. So the forward price of currency, for example, euro, is today's price of euro, and then we bring it forward with U.S. risk-free rates and reduce it by foreign currency risk-free rates. So if we were doing a euro, if we had, for example, that in the U.S. the risk-free rate was 0.35 and that the euro risk-free rate was 0.20, and we have that x0 is $1.25, then what we're saying is that the forward value of euro at time t would be $1.25. This would be the forward price for euro, times e to the difference in rates, which is 0.015 times t. Now, in order to reflect risk in our binomial tree, we need to take the forward price and then use the same adjustment. Now, these are typos. These deltas should be sigmas. So we use the same notion that sigma is the continuously compounded standard deviation of annualized returns. So with that set up, we can now develop from the price of euro, or the foreign currency today, x0, we can develop a lattice that tells us what is the exchange rate, or what is the price of that foreign currency in the base currency units. Once we do that, we'll then have the same equations we had before to solve. Namely, we have a return, and I'll talk in a moment in detail about where these expressions come from. But just as I explained in the module on stock with continuous dividends, the return on, or the change in the exchange rate, really has two features. What's happening is that we started with buying 1 euro. So let's say we had x0, and that was equal to $1.25. The actual replicating portfolio contained the euro. We don't actually buy, we don't actually hold dollars in the replicating portfolio. In the replicating portfolio, we want to hold 1 euro or delta euros, and what happens is the delta euros over the period of time become delta e to the RFH euros. So in our replicating portfolio, the e to the RFH is what happens to our delta euros because we've invested in a euro-based T-bill. Now, the presence of the U in that formula then converts it to dollars. So this is still in euro in my example, and then when I multiply it by U, I then get that expression in dollars. But it's important to note that the replicating portfolio for an option on currency actually contains U.S. denominated T-bills and foreign T-bills, and in my example, euro-based T-bills. And it isn't until the end of the period where we cash in those foreign T-bills, they're worth delta e to the RF h euros, we cash those in at the prevailing rate of UX, right? X was the original exchange rate. UX is the new exchange rate. So we have two different things going on. One is the change in the euros because we've earned interest on them, and then at the end of the period we exchange those euros using UX back to dollars. So this equation is now a dollar-based equation in both the upstate and the downstate, and from which we can solve for P. And you may notice that this P looks just like the P star for stock with continuous dividends. The difference is that now RF is taking the place of delta. And that's logical if you think about it. If we're pricing an option on continuous stock, the continuous stock is paying dividends continuously, and we are converting those into more stock. If we're dealing with an European or a foreign currency, we buy that unit of currency, and that currency pays dividends continuously by virtue of us purchasing a foreign denominated T-bill with that foreign currency.